Black Chaos comes again. Book 1, Black Land. Episode 2, The Museum, by Alan O.W. Barnes. Hours earlier.
The artifacts in the museum held my attention more readily than Mr. Phelan. Still, he raised his voice to wrestle our attention away from the artifacts and the Turian Egyptian exhibition.
The Nile Delta and our local Mississippi Delta are similar. The Nile floods annually and leaves this black soil along the river's path. The Mississippi doesn't flood as regularly, but the same phenomenon occurs where the land is augmented by deposits of nutrient-rich soil. This leads to an abundance of agriculture. The black land literally creates life.
Fyvin doubled as the history teacher and the mentor for the school newspaper. I was here to write an article for the blog.
This life-granting characteristic of Egypt was counterbalanced by the Egyptians' macabre interest in the dead. So, of course, the centerpiece of the exhibit was the mummy. I know that as teenagers with long lives ahead of you, many of you have yet to give death much thought. But the Egyptians put a lot of energy into death, especially their death rituals. They built tombs within cities for no one but the dead. They buried people with their possessions so they'd have those possessions in the next life. They did everything possible to preserve dead bodies before placing them in tombs. Some archaeologists believe that the culture of honoring the dead was a strategy designed by the ruling class to prevent people from cannibalizing the dead.
That's pretty gross, so I applaud whoever came up with that idea. I had never seen a dead body before, let alone a 4,000-year-old body. It was really creepy. The mummy was 15, my age, when she was buried. Weirder than that, they buried her with her mummified cat. The girl dies tragically just as she's about to blossom and fight her way beyond the wretched teenage years into adulthood. And did kill her cat too? The Egyptians were monsters. I wondered if the ancient Egyptians were all really into death, or if we just see them through the lens of their death rituals because it's our best record of them. When I die, I want to be cremated, incinerated. I don't want anyone to think they need to dress me up for my burial. It's just spooky, I said to Oscar, who was also at the exhibit. And he just laughed at me. Oscar's a senior. He also writes for the school blog, plays on the soccer team, and is my hottest male friend. Yeah, dream on, Caitlin. That dude has half a dozen girls surrounding him at all times. There's no way he'd notice me. Is it just me, or is this exhibit the weirdest thing you've ever seen?
Nah, I think we live in weirder times. I saw a report on the news that said 7,000 people a year die because of doctors' bad handwriting.
What do you consider the news? Oscar stands a head taller than me with blue eyes, an impressive dimple, a thin frame, and black hair. Sometimes when he looks down at me, I wonder how he sees me. Does he see past the frizzy brown hair and the giant round glasses? Does he see me as anything other than unheard? I doubt it.
The Reinhard report.
You know, that's only a step above a tabloid.
My dad watches it all the time.
But you write for the school blog. Don't you think you should hold yourself to a higher standard?
I think you think too much.
Have you guys seen these amazing books the exhibit brought? They are new translations of some of the most ancient writing in history. The Book of the Dead, the Magic Book of Thoth. We should do a series of articles, one about the mummy, one about the books, one about the similarity between the Egyptian Delta and the one here in Mississippi. What do you think?
I think that would be fun. Mr. Phelan gave a quick lecture to the high school students in attendance, talked about the pyramids and the fact that we don't really know why so many cultures around the world created such similar structures.
We do know that the pyramids of Egypt align with astrological bodies. The sky was significant to the ancients in all cultures. We also know that some of the pyramids were used as tombs.
Several students took notes as Mr. Phelan delivered this statement. They knew he'd quiz them the next day to see who was paying attention. Veronica Slater, cheerleader and nemesis to all girls without perfect hair, raised her hand. She asked a lot of questions in class. I think she thinks asking questions makes her look attentive or intelligent. But I can't believe half the things that come out of her mouth.
Excuse me, Mr. Phelan. Who did you say lived in the pyramids?
Mr. Phelan's shoulders slumped and his eyes rolled. He looked annoyed and defeated simultaneously.
Veronica, no one lived in the pyramids.
leaving Veronica perplexed as she flipped through her notes to discover what she could have missed. Phylon continued discussing the monuments of immense scale. He went on to explain the artwork produced by the Egyptians, especially the statues of the pharaohs, were idealized.
These statues were based on precise, symmetric calculations and ideal proportions for the human body by Egyptian standards, so the artists were likely following a template rather than constructing for accuracy.
Veronica raised her hand.
Mr. Feynman, you mean they weren't that hot?
The class giggled as Veronica glanced around shyly.
I want to believe they were hot.
Befuddled, Mr. Phylon lowered his head into an unintentional facepalm.